07 June. Um, Doing good. I am resting today. Um, Rested yesterday. I closed the job yesterday. So when I say rest, I mean I'm still doing things. I'm still running around. I got my health, my energy back, not completely, but to the point where I'm able to, move around and do things now. So I've got millions and billions of things going on in my head, and that's why I've been wanting to make videos again. So I'm just going to start with this one because this has been one that's really just like pressing in my brain. So what I've been doing is I've been putting myself, it's slowly, I mean, I got to be very careful because I'm still healing and I'm still, I haven't strengthened my foundation enough and taken care of enough of this trauma yet to completely open myself up. But what I've been doing is slowly, just slowly putting myself into my mom's position and trying to imagine like what would make me, if I was her, if I was, her, what would make me act the way I did towards me, her son. Because, I don't think my mom had demons in her. I don't think she was possessed. I don't think she was possessions. I don't know. Possession. I don't think she had demons in her. I think these things that she did to me were out of, in her mind, complete necessity and fear, or, again, survival. And the more I think about it, it just, like the other day, it just became so fucking obvious. I was like, holy fuck. Because her and her sister were a year and a half apart, I think, which is the same as me and my brother, which is a very, very fucking close in age, a year and a half between siblings, especially if you're the same sex. So her and her sister were a year and a half apart. My mom was the oldest, and they both had kids. So my mom had me, and then my aunt had my cousin. I think my cousin's less than 2 weeks younger than me. She was born like 10 days after me or something like that. So you can see how close, I can only imagine how close they were. Both of my mom and my aunt were very beautiful girls, teenage women. My mom was the dark haired one, and my aunt was the bleach blonde. So what I'm intuiting is had happened in her situation is I believe my aunt probably got more attention from everybody over everything. And then when my mom had me and my aunt had, I feel like my mom was probably very sensitive. I feel like my mom was probably very sensitive in trying to keep her sister with her, but at the same time being the older sister. But my aunt, knowing how beautiful and whatever she was, and looking at my mom like a fool. And so I think what happened was my aunt probably had a little respect for her or whatever. But once my aunt hooked up with that multimillionaire, I think what happened was my aunt slowly lost respect for her because the family bond was no longer needed, and my aunt was able to be her full narcissistic self. I believe my mom, I don't know what happened. There was something there. See, okay. So what I'm understanding with trauma is that this trauma goes back. This is not my mom. This can be blamed on her parents, and God knows how far back it goes past that and what kind of trauma we're talking about in the family that's been passed down. but I do not whatsoever in any way, shape, or form believe this started with my mom. My mom used to tell me and cry about being the black sheep of the family and the scapegoat. And, it just, like, it stuck in my head. Okay. My mom, I never understood what that meant, but okay, that's sounds like a horrible thing to be. I don't ever want to be a black sheep, Um, but she never gave me went into any details or explanations, and but there was a lot of hurt there from her mother, um, supposedly. Again, this is coming out. I'm going off of more not what my mom would say to me, but off of what I see now, because what my mom was saying to me, she was coming across. She was very young. She was in her 20s, early 20s, late 20s, and then early 30s. So she's extremely young and obviously had not processed any of her shit. So when she would speak to me, she was speaking from that child state. She wasn't speaking as a legible adult. And this is what I'm understanding with like psychosis and all these other fucking mental health. All these mental health issues go back to trauma, guys. All of them. All fucking mental health issues go back to trauma and being and being human in an extremely toxic, sick survival of the fittest environment. Period. It is that goddamn motherfucking simple. And if you're making it any harder than that, you're a goddamn fool and you're running around in circles. Okay, so getting back to my mom, I believe that so whatever trauma and everything she dealt with as a child, unresolved through her teenage years, then having me, then having my brother, then having to watch her sister, who she was like best friends with, I guess, supposedly best friends. However, women can be best friends. Those women, narcissistic women, can be best friends. And my aunt betrayed my mom. My aunt completely betrayed my mom. Instead of lowering herself to her sister and showing her sister love and compassion and humaneness, she sowed jealousy, strife, anger, resentment, and whatever other things. And I blame my aunt. That is my aunt's a fucking nasty, narcissistic cunt, bitch, selfish motherfucking bitch. Period. Who perpetuated my abuse and was not much. Look, my aunt was not a saint to her children either, to her first two. She was a batty, batshit crazy bitch to her first two. Selfish, narcissistic cunt. So what we have here is and what I'm trying to establish here is that this is passed down, and it's so easily passed down because by the time that people, especially with these women, by the time they get to their 30s, 40s, and they have spent every day of their adult lives creating a fantasy world and lies and entanglements and building fantasy stories in this whole fictional scenario of their life. I mean, that's impossible to untangle by the time you get in your mid-30s. For somebody who's built their whole ego, their whole life, everything they have is invested in this character that they've created, and hid behind all their fucking walls. And so why this generational abuse gets perpetuated is because it never gets solved. It never gets like what I'm doing now is I'm breaking this so that way that cycle, my kids will never carry that cycle from here on out. Ever carry that cycle, because I broke the fucking cycle. And now I'm calling it out. And as we're exposing it, and as this shit gets more and more exposed and more talked about, and more of the lies get untangled and more of the truth comes out, it is changing vibrations and it's changing frequencies. Everything in this world is frequencies. Everything is a fucking frequency, guys. And this ties back into, because other things I've been thinking about, the light spectrum. We only speak, us as humans, we only see like, I think it's something like 3 or 4% of the whole light spectrum. That means 97% of what should be visible to us that is in front of us, we don't even see. So what we actually see with our eyes is only 3% of what is available for us to see that is actually there. So when you take that into consideration, and then I guess what I'm getting at is our lights have been dimmed. Our potentials, our possibilities, our unlimited essence has been wrapped up and put in a box, so to say. And that's how we've been enslaved, is because they put it on us. It's like they put it in our heads that we require them or something else outside of ourselves, but we don't require anything. What we require is truth. We require the truth, and we require that energy of humanity. That's all we require. We require the truth, and we require the energy of humanity. We don't if we had those two things, and only those two things, we would not require food. We would not require anything else to sustain. And that's what I'm saying. Like when we die, right? When we die, you lose, what is it called? 13 grams or 15 grams or something like that. Your body weight loses 15 grams. Your spirit, all these NDEs, all these near-death experiences, people say, my spirit, came out and I was above my body watching, my death below. And so that's what I'm saying. Like if we had a pair of glasses that allowed us to see even 10% more of this light spectrum, we would see that we are forever beings. Is that's what I'm trying to say. Like we are beings, whatever frequency our being is actually vibrating at. That when we die, our spirit is, takes that 15 grams, and then that spirit goes and it does things, and then it gets reincarnated, or whatever ends up happening. But this is what I'm trying to say is, this is not far out there tutti frutti kind of crazy shit. This is so real. This is the realest shit ever. And people would rather believe in fucking dinosaurs and goddamn space and goddamn millions of miles of dark vacuum space, and we're floating, spinning thousands of miles an hour with all this other shit, and fucking nobody's flying off this round ball and the water's sticking to it. People would rather believe that crazy shit than this simple common sense. All the shit I'm saying is shit that you can intuit yourself. You will never intuit space. You will never intuit dinosaurs. You will never intuit all this horse shit that they shove in your fucking face. But what you will intuit, if you sit with yourself, whether it takes a year or 6 months, however long it takes to sit with yourself and get rid of all the programming that you've been taught and the filters you've been taught to see life through, and use your own goddamn common sense, because it basically all comes back to common fucking sense. Use your goddamn common sense, and you will see, oh, well, shit, if we only see 3% of the fucking, light spheres, and 97% of it is fucking invisible to us, then we're missing a whole fucking lot. And then that explains when you die, you never die. We never die. We are beautiful, pure souls that are just trapped in these physical fucking forms, that when this physical form, that we're so afraid to fucking pass on and get out of this fucking form. But all this form does is goddamn entrap us. So, I'm starting to figure out this game. This game is becoming so fucking apparent. The curtains are pulled back. The fucking naked fucking old fuck that's been pulling the strings the whole time is completely exposed. It's all coming to light, guys. And it's all very simple. And the only thing that makes it difficult is us. Each other beating each other down, and like crabs in a barrel, every time one of us tries to get out and try to figure things out, trying to pull each other down and beat each other up. And the reason we do that is from our own trauma. We traumatize each other. We are traumatized, so we just want to traumatize other people. We don't want anybody getting anywhere other than where we're at, which is miserable. But yeah, man, I'm figuring this shit out big time, big fucking time. And it's extremely fucking simple. And anybody, all of you, all of us can figure it out. We're all figuring it out together. I believe I believe whatever energy that we're tied to, whatever that frequency it is that a human vibrates on, that our spirit fucking vibrates on, I believe that motherfucker is so fucking powerful. It's like someone in China, if they're feeling the same thing, we're resonating. It's like they're sitting right here on my lap. You know what I mean? I think that's how it works. And I think that's why the power of each one of us waking up and speaking up and doing this work individually, especially those of us who have been severely traumatized and fucked with and lied about, it's very important because we're untangling, we're allowing. Instead of having to prove every fucking one of my mom's goddamn lies, all I have to do is prove the spirit of her lies in the spirit of her bullshit. And then people can take it upon themselves, and then it's, whoo, I understand. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we need to quit trying to force all this fucking stupid ass goddamn knowledge bullshit. That's part of our fucking entrapment, is the endless knowledge pursuit of fucking bullshit cocksucking knowledge. And we need to get back to our intuition, only our intuition, and our loving and connection with other people, period. That's simple. But again, in my loving and connection, and that's what allowing me to put myself in my mom's place, which is allowing my mind to expand. It's opening up, it's breaking down barriers to allow me to see the big picture instead of my own little, ooh, I got so hurt, I'm just a traumatized individual. No, it's, this is so much bigger. I was traumatized by a traumatized individual who was traumatized by a traumatized individual who was, you know what I mean? So let's stop this shit, guys.